Hello and a big welcome to our viewers. I am Rodra Bhattacharya, Director for Brand Content and Events at Pando. And today with me, I have a very special guest who I'm honored to have known for a few years now. My guest has been a big proponent of digital transformation, having led the function across legacy organizations. For a majority of his career, he's focused on digitizing processes in order to help organizations become more nimble with the end goal of improving the customer experience. I'm pleased to welcome Nitin Sethi, Chief Digital Officer for Consumer Businesses at Adani Group. In his current role, Nitin is setting up the Adani Digital Labs based out of Gurgaon, which supports several businesses like consumer goods, airports, gas, electricity, and financial services. Before Adani, Nitin has spent several years at Indigo, focusing on increasing the online stickiness of the brand. He's also an extremely active startup mentor and advisor. Nitin, thanks for joining us today. The first question I'd like to ask you is about your leadership style, especially in such difficult times, right? You've taken up a massive mandate at Adani, one of India's largest conglomerates, right in the middle of the pandemic. Tell us how this experience has been building a team from scratch in a difficult sort of environment where much of the work is remote.
Thanks, Rudha. Thanks for having me and giving me this opportunity. I'll absolutely directly come to the question. And I can answer it in 3 words. Let me give you that short answer and then let me elaborate on that. So the short answer in mindset is everything, right? The ability to learn, unlearn, relearn, and change yourself is actually a superpower. Okay. And being a design thinker, I personally feel that if you have a ability to get to a role where you can transform lives, add value to the ecosystem, and that's the biggest thing you can get. There's only one life. One of the biggest lessons in startups that things takes longer than you expect, right? And with COVID, people see there were a lot of challenges, but I saw there were a lot of opportunities. Now, I've spent 3 years at Indigo, and I was the founding leader for 60 Digital. Right. I've initiated the team close to 125 odd folks. We've given $10 of return on $1 of investment for the brand. Now, if you look at COVID, nobody will imagine that a brand in India in this cost-conscious market will grow by 10%. In COVID times, we are close to 50% market share, right? Our cargo revenue grew from 3 to 25%. That the pace of digitalization happened in that COVID time has been remarkable.
I mean, in some ways, you were preparing for this time. The kind of work you were doing sort of helped Indigo prepare itself.
Absolutely. So it's basically the core 4 principles of Indigo: being on time, hassle-free, affordable fares, great network. And then there were 4 C's: customer centricity, customer self-empowerment, customer empathy, right? Then if you connect all those dots, it becomes an awesome proposition because it becomes the brand of people. Now, when you look at it, I've taken a decision between COVID of moving because, Indigo was a fascinating journey. But how could I say no to an opportunity when you get a lifetime lottery of saying that you would actually co-found or become a founding leader of Adani Digital Labs, where you get to create something for 1 billion people. The idea behind Adani's integrated platform is to integrate all the consumer-facing businesses. And Rudra, very interestingly, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people know Adani as a B2B giant, but we are one of the biggest B2C companies. We just don't interact very actively with our consumers so far, but that is going to change, and that is changing as we speak, right? We already serve close to 450 to 500 million consumers. And there was no better time than COVID because I always feel that you have to be hardcore optimistic and you have to forward-looking, forward-thinking, right? A lot of my mentors say it as a blue sky thinking.
Right. At both these organizations, Indigo and Adani, you built teams from scratch, as you mentioned, right? Setting up the entire vertical. How do you inspire? How do you rally your teams behind a cause, especially when there's so much going on in their personal lives, overall in the world today, which sort of leads to a lot of anxiety for many people. So how do you get them focused, rally behind one cause?
I think I don't think that I ever thought about success. I was too busy building and working, and that's what I keep telling my team. Right, take tiny steps forward. Look at the bigger goal. It's always about we. It's not about I. You have to work for the consumer because that is the only guy who's not in the boardroom, right? If you does that job well, and if you add that value, it doesn't matter where you come from, where you and where you can lead is the work. Okay. And in my whatever little learning I have in last 2 decades in uh, starting from working for a brand like Bharti Airtel to see India Times, I've seen the change is the only constant, right? I like to build from scratch because that gives me ownership. I've always done an entrepreneurship type of roles. So if you look at Yatra, I built from scratch. I built the product design in UX team from scratch. Yatra gone IPO. At InfoEdge, I built the design, ad tech, ad sales, creative team from scratch. Right, spent 8.5 years. So Naukri, 99 acre, Jeevan Saathi Shiksha. So I've always been the builder, right, the craftsman. I call myself digital craftsman, right? And it's the feeling, okay. And you then, startup always excites me. Quicker was a fascinating journey. At a time when OLX was leading and dominating, we made Quicker. We acquired Common Floor, which was Google funded. Baba Jobs, number one, acquired 12 startups. Wow. It wasn't easy, right? From outsourcing to insourcing and then building and owning. So I think that transformation in India is happening because it all became about customer. It's never about that you have a solution and figure out what the market you can crack and how much revenue you can make. It's always becomes about, your consumer delight and stickiness, and it's more about customer retention rather than customer acquisition. I think there's a mindset change. And if you don't have right people, actually you can't do a good job.
So hiring right, getting the right team is I think
hiring is actually an abusive word. It's onboarding the right partners. You can't even build if you have an employees. Right. You have to build if you have right partners. Got it. At this age, I'm only interested in consistency, stability, respect, and loyalty. Right? If you get the empowerment, if you get a canvas to paint, okay, if you get to create something and you can leave a legacy behind, I think rewards are bound to come. And if you showcase that and you can lift your team with you, people follow you. And startups are nothing but people. It's an intellect value.
So I want to spend a bit. You did mention design thinking, and that's something that you focused on a lot in your career, right? So just a few minutes on that. What is design thinking? I mean, what do you mean by design thinking? How is it a different approach to solving certain challenges, certain organizational structures than what has been happening before?
Design thinking is nothing but a mindset. It's an iterative approach of solving from a customer perspective. Right. So it's not about, like I said, it's not about you have a great technology, you have a great product offering. It doesn't work like that. It has to work for a segment. It has to work for that persona. And right. The way it's going to work for me, it'll be very different from the way it's going to work for you. It's about personalization. It's about that context. It's about eliminating that ambiguity. It's about the overall customer experience. So design thinking enables it. Design thinking adds that human touch, which is generally missing from when we actually design for masses.
Got it. So work backwards from customer experience, essentially.
Yeah. So I think starts from customer and ends with the customer. And it's a cycle, right? So you brainstorm, you ideate, you research, you then prototype, then you scale, and then you look into insights, and then you do the cycle all over again.
So, coming to digital transformation, right? I mean, this is something that so many people are speaking about. And you've been working on this for legacy businesses such as Adani and even Indigo is a massive company. So why is digital transformation important? How does it uplift the customer experience? And why is it so urgent? Why does it have to be done right now?
So it should have been done a decade back, actually. We are
Right.
late, right? That's why you see very few true global companies. Being a one-fifth of world population, we should have at least 200 unicorns dominating the world.
Yeah.
We've only touched 100 plus. But we have seen more unicorns last year than ever. We have seen more unicorns in first 3 months of the current calendar year.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's remarkable. But
We've
why
already
it's
crossed the investment of broadly last year, what I was reading yesterday, apparently.
absolutely,
Venture
absolutely. I think from India mindset, from being an Indian, I think when someone says that you can't do it and we can't do it, I think we're going to do it twice and take pictures and show the world what we can, we're coming for you. We're going to dominate. And it's essential. It's essential to do it now because consumer needs are changing. Consumer becoming more demanding. You need a mind share of the consumer, right? It's aspiration. We are a young country. Millennials, tier 2, tier 3, youth is happening. They want aspirational brands. They want quality of stuff. It's not only discounting these days, right? So if you don't own the customer, if you don't have two-way communication with the customer, you are going to perish. That's the only competitive advantage you have between you and the other guy. The customer experience and whether you are making him feel good, valued. Okay.
But how does digital transforming your business help in better customer experience? I'm just thinking, how do we connect the two dots?
So see, if you look at great brands who have largest customer mindshare, whether it's Nike, whether it's Starbucks, whether it's Apple, whether it's Amazon, you have a direct communication channel and assets serving that customer. Whether it's about customer is exploring, whether it's about customer is buying, whether it's after support, it's taking care of the unhappy customer, is giving empowerment to do self-service. So when I buy, when I watch, how I watch, what I watch is full on me, right? DVDs existed, now it's Netflix. Music cassettes existed, now it's Prime and Spotify. Kali Pili taxis existed, but now it's about Uber. Hotels existed, now it's about Airbnb. Right? And these startups been more valued by compared to all traditional companies put together. So what has changed? So you need to be there where the customer is. And with internet, with 5G, 4G, 3G, I think that mobile penetration, internet penetration, that world is shrinking. So tier 2, tier 3 is not only outside world anymore.
Yeah.
So India and Bharat got a merged boundaries. So, you and I sitting in metros can't really design great for a tier 3 guy because he wants a little different, but he wants good quality. So maybe a global experience, but execute locally, right? And if we don't do it now, somebody else is going to do it. We are the largest market in the world. So it's our responsibility to do a better job.
Got it. Yeah. So coming to the people part of this, right? This change, this sounds as if in most companies it's a major change in the way things are done, especially for large legacy businesses where things take time to move, right? So tell us a bit about how do you look at culture change when you're changing systems and processes? What about leadership buy-in? How important is leadership buy-in for any large change in an organization to really be effective, right? How have you dealt with these sort of issues in your career?
See, there are two types of traditional organization. One is a traditional organization which is still shareholder organization, and one is which is a promoter driven organization. I'll talk about both. One which is a public company, shareholders are also there, but there is a large stake which is being controlled by a family or an individual, or it's a family owned business. Now in both, it has their own set of challenges and the opportunities. The challenge is basically the mindset. Because the business has reached XYZ valuation, because they have done something on execution, the way they have reached here, right? that took them here at this valuation, at this success point. So the buy-in from the CEOs and family is basically, if you need to be mature, you need to have a little more patience, and you need to go for small wins. You can't suddenly change everything in one go. Can't happen. Nobody's got a magic wand. So how you are building credibility, how you're doing stakeholder management, how you are getting a buy-in, how you are actually showing that by taking tiny steps, the business can actually gain, whether it's voice of the customer, whether it's market share, whether it's revenue. And it's all about revenue and cash and customer delight at the top umbrella layer, right? And automation, digitization, if you remove the buzziness of the words, what it means simplify experiences, right? It means keeping everybody on the same page. Now, no business leader, whether it's traditional or a new age, a 55 years old or a 21 years old, will tell you that you don't help me increase the revenue, you don't help me increase the lifetime value of the customer, you don't help me increase my NPS, you don't help me increase my reach. Nobody's stupid. Everybody's intelligent, boss. Right? So how you're narrating a story inside, outside, both are very important. Right? Either you look at challenges, okay, no, there are traditional processes, or you say, no, I can actually transform those traditional processes. So how you see it?
Yeah. So I think everybody wants the results, of course, but they want more profits, they want better revenue out of that. But the worry there is, the insecurity there is, one is that obviously becoming irrelevant in a new process which you don't understand, and the second part is probably is about things sort of being out of your hands or out of your control. So how do you tackle that in a new organization? I mean, it's easy to say hire new people who understand technology and you're done, but I don't think that's a solution anywhere.
Absolutely, you're right, because it's a mixed approach. So if you don't have a business knowledge, you can't transform it. Let's accept it, right? So I being outsider, now I'm a Adaniya from last 1 year. Last 365 days, I've learned about business first. I've learned about customer pain point. Then only I can digitize. So we have just completed 1 year of ADL foundation. What was the ADL foundation? If we want to create a Burj Khalifa in the digital world, you have to have a solid foundation, boss. So I believe in this, right? You have to fight for your future. It will not be given to you. You must go out and take what is yours.
Got it.
Whether it's business, whether it's consumer mind share, whether it's legacy and success. And success means different thing to different people. But from a business standpoint, you are a business which giving consumers many more reasons to come back to you again and again. And that every CEO understand.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, that's the core of any business. I mean, there might be a different approach, but that's the core of any business. You did mention the work you're doing at Adani Digital Labs, and it seems very interesting. The central role this team is playing across different consumer businesses of the group. So in such a large group, where do you see the gaps or the opportunities? Whichever way you want to call it. I think it's better to call it an opportunity. And how are you addressing them going forward? I mean, again, super app right behind you. So a bit about the super app there as well.
Yeah. So see, the opportunity I see is on the both ends. So to digitize any business on the consumer side, you need to also digitize on the back end, on the processes and the framework and the SOP side. You actually need to connect the dots. You actually need to sometime repair the structures and sometime demolish the structure and build from scratch. Because what we are building for next 10 years. And the most important part was that blueprint. So at Adani, our approach and the roadmap and the blueprint is absolutely signed off. Clear, all the stakeholders have signed off. Whether it's Apex team, the family, all the CEOs, right? All the customer representatives. And we are not solving in isolation. I think that's what is very important for any group to first do. And then you go about it saying, okay, this is a quarter milestone, and this is how we see it in next 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. And you should have a very clear iterative approach in terms of, because you really in digital, you can't decide what is going to happen in next 5 years. Change ho jayega, boss. Right? So things are changing so fast. But on your overall journey on the digitalization, maybe the tool will change, maybe the way you execute will change, but the goal can't change. The goal has to be around customer, and that is the most important thing. So one day when we look back and realize that we worried too much about small tiny things on tactical level, those things really don't matter. You have to have a bigger goal aligned, and then you figure out our hustle. It's not a it's a heavy lifting. Digitize is no fun play, boss. It's painful.
It's very interesting. I mean, it's a mix of services and good and manufacturing businesses at the same time.
Look at, we are traditional businesses. We have airports. We are 85 million consumers going to come to our airport. They are going to come in, right? We serve every fifth Indian in our fortune business. Every fifth Indian consumer of fortune products, FMCG.
Yeah.
Then you have a utility business in gas and electricity, where in some markets we have a monopoly. Okay. Then, and we're growing very fast, maybe 20-25% year on year growth. Then you have a real estate business where consumers spend close to 20 years of the EMI and, the highest value transaction. And then you have a capital business, which is underwriting for SME space. Now, if you look at it, no other group has this type of diversified traditional businesses.
Yeah.
So it's an ecosystem. It's not a competition. It's ultimately an ecosystem.
Coming to a specific question around supply chain, right? I mean, clearly the last 1 or 2 years have shown that digitizing and modernizing your supply chains is extremely important at this stage, right? Given how global supply chains fared during the pandemic, understanding how your supply chain is, the visibility aspect, and optimizing your entire movement of goods can give you a lot of value, right? Now, just wanted to understand from your perspective and at Adani, right? How does it happen today? What are the areas that you're looking to improve, and how is and also beyond Adani? I mean, I want to see your thoughts on this space, right? Because it's an area which has traditionally been very manual, and there's a major move globally now to digitize the entire logistics value chain. And there are different companies doing different parts of that and that entire journey, right? I mean, for example, we at Pando are only looking at one area, but there's a lot of other things happening. For example, in the warehouse space, there's planning, there's forecasting, etc., etc. So, just wanted to understand from your thought at Pando and beyond, what are the opportunities here?
Sure. So it's a very, very smart question and a multi-level question, right? So, we can talk about it for next 2 hours and it'll still not be enough. And I'm no subject matter expert in logistics, but I'll and this will be my personal view and less from Adani and more from my personal understanding and view, because I'm still very new at Adani. It's still 1 year at Adani, right? And my primary focus is on the B2C businesses. But at a group level, we are going through the digital transformation across. We have 28 businesses. We are going through the transformation, and our port logistic business is one of the biggest businesses. Now, if you look at it, can a single player do all by themselves? I don't think so, right? It's a public-private partnership. It's a lot of new age startups and small companies and SMEs coming back with the innovation and then getting integrated into a bigger ecosystem. I think every small problem area can produce multiple unicorns, and there are a lot of opportunities because India still needs the next revolution in the logistics and the supply chain management, whether it's cold storage, it's last mile delivery, it's transportation, it's how we store, right? It's everything needs to be further digitized. We have still seen very few companies on the transportation side and delivery side which became unicorn. But look at the overall life cycle. I think there's still 10 layers in logistics and supply chain, which further needs to be digitized. And like us, most of the groups and traditional brands and new age companies are working together in this area. So there is no right or wrong answer, and it can't be only single perspective. But I think whether it's Pando, whether it's delivery, whether it's any other brand, it's a collaborative effort. No one person can solve the end-to-end part of it. right?
Understood.
But that transportation problem and digitalization needs to happen at the same time.
And any large group, including Adani and others, are of course looking at to solve this challenge, right? In the
I think
entire.
everybody's solving. So everybody's solving in their own unique way. Some people are investing large sum of money. Some people are not. But at Adani, we are very, very committed,
Right.
and that transformation is happening. But that is the only detail I can share as of
Of course, of course. No, is it better for larger groups to, as an overall sort of strategy, to build in-house rather than look at these technologies from outside? What is the better strategy? Because if you have a certain scale, it might make sense, right?
Yeah, no, so absolutely. So, for example, in digital, we are building an integrated platform, like a super app on our own. We will control the
That's
IP.
in-house.
We are building a data center, undersea cable, industrial cloud, which will be one of the unique kinds. And this is all in-house. Okay, we are investing a lot in digitization, but at the same time, we've done the investment in ClearTrip. We are seeking more investment opportunities in the market, and that will continue to happen in each and every area. It's not only about the consumer space. It's not only about B2B space. It's not only about the system automation space. It's going to happen across. We are a large group. We are one of the fastest growing conglomerates in India.
Coming to a sort of a fun question, just to sort of look at your thoughts. There's this prevalent view that automation and AI will take away much of the jobs, right? I wanted to just have your perspective on this. That's something many executives today worry about. So in a country like India, of course, that's a challenge. So what is your thoughts on this? How is automation and AI going to affect the job market?
I think I have a very contradictory view on this. I actually feel that it's increasing the jobs.
Okay.
Who lost a job? It's increasing the efficiency. Technology is only enabler, but ultimately you need that human touch, right? You can get an infographic done, but you need to make sense out of it. And there are always multiple perspectives, right? So machine will do X, Y, Z. The wrapper ultimately you have to do, right? So we need to be very picky with whom you invest in and who we spend our time with, whether it's technology, people, startup, So I think whether it's AI, big data, and with the metaverse and Web3, it's going to revolutionize. It's going to, literally create so many opportunities. The creator economy, we are sitting at the cusp of creator economy, boss.
So the idea is to upskill and sort of learn, like you said earlier in our chat today, like have to be ready to continuously learn and pick up new skills, right? I think that's the code for survival rather than worrying about machines taking away your.
No, so it's basically helping the consumers. The data is going to help the consumer. But a brand needs to be more responsible that how you are taking care of the privacy, the governance, and all that in a set framework. But without the data trends, without that intelligence, it's all manual. The intelligence will go away. If I'll not tell you that, okay, you booked a cab, but your cab, I will not tell you how many minutes and where it is. Will you book it now?
No, of course not.
That is technology. That is data driven, right? That is real time data. So you just need to make a personalized real-time data in that governed environment, and we are good.
So my last question, right, and this is a very sort of a personal experience question that I wanted to have your thoughts on. Now, your own view of how the last few years have been, last 1 or 2 years, from innovation at the workplace to just maintaining sort of a positive outlook on business, etc., even though you're going through a difficult time, to even at a personal level looking at your physical and mental health for you and your family. How has these 2 years changed you as a person, your outlook on life, on business, and maybe what are the mantras that you would sort of mention for people to live by?
It's a very personal question, absolutely, because everybody will have a different answer to it.
Yeah.
Okay. And without any bias, I'm going to share what I think. So I think COVID and last 2.5 years have actually changed the way people were living their life. Right. So, and it's unfortunate that a lot of us and dear ones have lost their family members, friends, and it was difficult time for everybody. But I think it also got people closer. So family comes first, became the first mantra in my life. There's nothing more important. Family comes first, and it has to be there, right? If something happens to us, the next day the seat will be replaced by somebody else. That's the harsh reality. But that also tells us that there is only one life. There is only one opportunity to create a legacy. And we have not done yet. I almost died with the COVID, boss. Right? I was very sick. But
I didn't know that. I didn't know. This is the second wave?
I say a second wave, I was very sick. So I think I joined Adani maybe for a month, and then I was very sick for close to a month. But this is a second life, right? So I think that the second mantra is that you keep your big goals away from minds which can't understand or relate to it. You go for it, right? So don't think what people will think about you. Don't really think too much. So don't overthink. Okay. So I keep saying that I get paid to have fun. Imagine I'm getting paid to have this conversation, boss. What else I want in life?
This is amazing. Yeah.
Right. So being optimistic and looking at a positive side is very important for your mindset and your own happiness. I think happy leaders create successful successors.
Yeah.
Right. So that is another third thing. And I think that humility and being grateful is also one part which I've learned in this time. I became more humble. I personally start valuing my relationships and people, whether it's professional and personal, more religiously. And I think that I'm going to stick to. So living one day at a time, and living like it's the last day of this lifetime. So maybe you give best. You give 100% in where you are. But it's very personal. There is no.
No, and that's the idea, right? I mean, and I think, and thanks for that. Thanks for sort of speaking your heart out. I mean, and I reflect with most of what you're saying, right? And most importantly, the idea is to slow down and appreciate what you have sometimes, and family.
Yeah.
I think that's extremely important. You're right. I mean, jobs will change, others will come, but your family has only. I mean, there's only that one family, right? So I think that's extremely important.
And there's only one opportunity to create a legacy. Yeah. So don't let it go, right? Give you 100%. Don't do it.
Don't overthink it. I think in some ways this entire experience has brought some clarity of thought for so many people, right?
Absolutely. So it's not about everything is what you want, what makes you happy, right? So stick to what makes you happy.
And कल का क्या पता किसी को हिंदी में मैं
so being optimistic यार परसों का भी पता है, but don't like कि आज ही नहीं जिया यार और कल में ही so at least give your best, have fun. Yeah.
No, thanks a lot. I think fun way to end the conversation. I didn't know you were unwell. I'm so glad that things are much better now. Yeah.
God is kind.
Thank God for that. So thanks for joining us today, Nitin. It was my pleasure to speak to you, and I'm surely inspired by your experience and wisdom and thought on so many of these matters. To our viewers, thanks for watching. We will soon be back with another episode in our series under Crossroads. Thank you.